This story, titled My Fiancé Expects Me to Sign a Prenup, Even Though He Promised We Would Build Everything Together, begins with a moment that changed everything. For 4 years, I believed in the future Ethan and I had planned together. We weren't just lovers. We were partners, teammates, two people building a life from the ground up. We always said that whatever we had together. But now, staring at the thick document in front of me, my hands trembling as I turned the pages, I realized that maybe I had been wrong. "Why are you looking at me like that?" Ethan asked, his voice calm. Too calm. I looked up at him, my throat dry. "You promised," I whispered. His expression shifted slightly, but he kept his lawyer-like composure. "I am keeping my promise, Leah. This is just protection." "Protection from me?" I asked, my voice cracking. Ethan sighed, rubbing his temple as if this conversation was exhausting him. "It's not like that. You're taking this personally." I let out a hollow laugh. "How else am I supposed to take it?" The paper in front of me didn't just feel like a legal document. It felt like a betrayal. A month ago, everything had been perfect. We had just picked out a venue for our wedding. Ethan had surprised me with a weekend getaway, and we had spent long nights dreaming about the life we were going to create. He always said things like, "What's mine is yours. We're in this together." So when his lawyer sent over the prenuptial agreement, I was blindsided. I had grown up believing that marriage was about trust. My parents had built everything together, through struggles and triumphs. That was the kind of love I wanted. The kind where you didn't prepare for an exit before you even walked in. I looked back at Ethan, searching for something in his face that might make this make sense. "So what exactly does this say?" I asked, my voice quieter now. He exhaled. "It just states that anything I've built before the marriage stays mine. And if, God forbid, we ever separate, we both leave with what we came in with." I swallowed. "And what about what we build together?" His hesitation was brief, so brief that I might have missed it if I wasn't watching him so closely. "That's still ours, but this is just to make sure." "To make sure what?" I interrupted. "That I don't take half of your money if things don't work out." His jaw tightened. "Leah, it's not about that." "Then what is it about?" Silence. That night I couldn't sleep. Ethan lay beside me, breathing steadily, as if this whole conversation hadn't rocked the foundation of our relationship. I stared at the ceiling, my mind racing. If he truly saw me as his partner, why did he feel the need to protect himself from me? And the worst part? I couldn't shake the feeling that maybe, just maybe, he had never really seen us as equals. The next morning over breakfast, I decided to try again. "Ethan," I started, keeping my voice steady, "can I ask you something?" He looked up from his coffee. "Of course." "If I was the one with more money, would you sign a prenup for me?" He frowned. "That's not the same thing." I raised an eyebrow. "Isn't it?" Ethan sighed, setting down his mug. "Leah, I've worked so hard for what I have. You know that. It's not about you. It's smart." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "So you think I don't work hard?" "That's not what I'm saying," he replied quickly. "But let's be honest. Our financial situations aren't the same." And there it was. The quiet truth that I had been too afraid to face. Ethan didn't see me as his equal. Not really. That afternoon, I sat alone in our apartment, the prenup still sitting on the kitchen counter, mocking me. I thought about all the times Ethan had told me we were a team. I thought about the nights we had stayed up late talking about our future, our shared dreams, our goals. And I thought about how, in the end, when it mattered, he had made a decision alone. A decision that protected himself. Not us. That night, I made a choice. And I knew, deep down, that nothing would ever be the same again. The apartment was silent when Ethan came home that night. I was sitting at the dining table, the prenuptial agreement still untouched in front of me. He walked in, setting his keys down, and his eyes flickered to the document before settling on me. "Leah," he started, his voice careful. I took a deep breath. "I've been thinking." His jaw tensed, but he nodded, waiting. I pushed the prenup toward him. "I can't sign this." Ethan's face hardened. "Leah, let me finish." I interrupted. My voice wasn't shaking anymore. I was past the stage of begging him to see things from my perspective. "This isn't just about money, Ethan. This is about trust. About how we see each other. And right now, I feel like you're seeing me as a threat, not a partner." He exhaled sharply. "That's not true." "Then why didn't we talk about this together?" I asked. "Why did I have to find out from your lawyer instead of you?" He ran a hand through his hair, a frustration creeping into his expression. "Because I knew you'd react like this." My stomach twisted. "You mean you knew I'd be hurt?" Silence. That was the moment I realized He had never intended for this to be a conversation. It was a decision he had already made, one he had expected me to just accept. I swallowed hard. Ethan, do you think there's a chance we won't last? His eyes darted away for a second, just a second. But it was enough. I felt my heart crack. You do, I whispered. No, that's not. He let out a frustrated sigh. Leah, I'm just being realistic. I stared at him, my throat tight. I don't want realism. I want to marry someone who believes in us the way I do. He closed his eyes for a moment, then sat down across from me. I do believe in us, he said quietly, but I also believe in protecting myself. And there it was. No matter how much he loved me, no matter how much he wanted us to work, he was still preparing for if we didn't. And I realized something in that moment. I didn't want to build a life with someone who was already planning for an exit. The next morning, I packed a bag. I wasn't making a rash decision. I wasn't storming out in anger, but something inside me had shifted, and I knew I couldn't ignore it. Ethan stood in the doorway, his arms crossed. You're really leaving over this? I zipped up my suitcase, my heart pounding. It's not just this. It's what it means. Leah, don't be ridiculous. I turned to face him. If you truly believed in me, in us, this document wouldn't exist. He exhaled, shaking his head. You're throwing everything away over a piece of paper. No, I said softly. You did. I picked up my bag, walked past him, and didn't look back. Sometimes, love isn't enough. Sometimes, no matter how much you want to believe in forever, you have to accept the truth staring you in the face. And the truth was, I wanted a partner who trusted me the way I trusted them. Ethan wasn't that person, and I wasn't going to settle for anything less. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Have you ever had to walk away from something you thought would last forever? Share your thoughts below.